Okay, so much for that plan. The cameraman has requested that we sit here. You look so far away. Are you sure you don't want to come sit at the table with us? Are you sure?
There we go. All right.
Oh, look at that. A few brave souls, thank you. See, it takes leadership.
If only
In
we had
all
ice
things, it
cream.
takes leadership. Thank you, thank you. Free water. Oh, look at this. Look at this. This side over here seems a lot less.
Note to next time,
a lot
exactly.
less willing to participate in that way. We're not going to let you off the hook back there. We're still going to expect you to. So I guess we should just get started. What's that? Yeah, so I'll just start by introducing myself, and Barbara can introduce herself in a second. So my name is Michael Kaiser, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Cybersecurity Alliance in Washington, D.C. We are an NGO. We are a public-private partnership. That's our phrase for a multi-stakeholder group in the United States, a commonly used phrase in cybersecurity, a public-private partnership. We are funded both by our government, the Department of Homeland Security, as well as industry, to just do education and awareness in cybersecurity. We run Data Privacy Day, we do National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which is now known as Cybersecurity Awareness Month in many countries around the world, and Barbara will talk a little bit about that as well, what's going on in Latin America. And we started the Stop, Think, Connect campaign, which I'll talk about in a second, as an example of how you can create a multi-stakeholder approach to cybersecurity awareness. The goal today is Barbara and I have like about 5 minutes each, maybe a little bit more, that we'd like to talk about. And then we have a lot of questions for you, and we want to have a dialogue with you. This is really about having a conversation. Everybody's been here for a few days. You've sat in a lot of panels. People have talked at you. It's time for everybody to talk together. And that's in the spirit of being multi-stakeholder. So I'll just turn it over to Barbara for a second.
Hi, good afternoon. So my name is Barbara Macchiari-Jassis. I work in the cybersecurity program at the Organization of American States. And basically I'm going to be talking how is our work and how we try to raise awareness in the region about cybersecurity. First of all, I think OAS, we are like facilitators. What we try to do is we bring to the countries in the region, Latin America and the Caribbean, the best practices, exchange experience of all sectors, private, civil society, government. And how do we do this? Well, we do this based on partnerships. So we try to partner with as many organizations as we can from all sectors, which includes, we're talking about Stop, Think, Connect. With Stop, Think, Connect, so we're going to talk about Stop, Think, Connect later. But Stop, Think, Connect, they have, Mike's going to explain a little bit more about it, but it already provides a lot of material that can be customized by countries and not only governments, but also other organizations. So you don't need to start. If you want to have your own cybersecurity awareness campaign, you already have a great resource to look for information. And OAS onboarded this initiative, and we've been encouraging our member states to participate and join Stop, Think, Connect. For instance, we have Panama, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Jamaica.
And I think Colombia, maybe.
They're and other countries are discussing the possibility. We also have other organizations like in the region. Argentina, we have Usuaria, which is the Argentinian Association of Internet Users of ICT, which always we work together and try to have events, good info events, where we engage people from academia, civil society, the private sector, business. We also engage with the private sector too, because they have a lot of information that it can help us better understand the training of the region. So what is happening? What are types of cyber attacks? What are the best practices, the best techniques? And with this partnership, we've been able to produce really interesting reports that provide information about the region. Back in 2013, we had a great report from Michael, Simon Tech too, and this year have published one about critical infrastructure protection. So cybersecurity awareness, I think, is a shared responsibility, is a multi-stakeholder. So we try to have partners from all sectors so we can be sure that all this audience are being involved. Also another important thing that our program, cybersecurity program, the OAS actually has done, we have joined the recognized October as the Cybersecurity Month. the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is really important, and we really encourage member states to do this. Why? Because it's how to better coordinate our efforts. Resources are limited, so definitely we have to think, okay, how can we make sure that our campaign reach as many people as possible? So when you have a specific month, of course, the campaign's all over the year, but there is a moment to say, okay, let's discuss this, let's have an event, let's think about how we can improve cybersecurity awareness in our countries. So this is why we joined this, and we keep encouraging our member states. Another important thing that we have been working to develop is this cybersecurity campaign, awareness campaign toolkit. It's available online in English and Spanish, and this was a result of, we conduct several workshops, roundtable throughout the region, and every time they were discussing how to structure a national strategy, cybersecurity strategy, what do we need, what are the challenges and needs of the region, every time cybersecurity awareness, how to improve, how to raise cybersecurity awareness was always an issue. And it's an issue of all levels. We have a problem that in private companies, C-level to employees, in government, ministerial level, and civil servants. We have general public, we have our teachers, children. So so many people were concerned about cybersecurity, how to raise awareness. And the issue was, okay, how do we structure our own national cybersecurity campaign? How do we do this? So that's when we decided to develop this toolkit. This is not a cybersecurity awareness campaign. This is how can governments, and actually any organization, not only for governments, any organization, how can we structure our own cybersecurity awareness campaign based on our needs? So it's interesting, really interesting document that explains since the beginning, okay, who should be involved? Who are the stakeholders? What is the audience that you're trying? How do we measure the impact of it? How do we assess it later? How do we monitor this? And we have a lot of material explaining how we could engage. How do we structure the message? How should be this message? So it's a really good material, and it's available online. If anyone wants to talk more about it, but it's one of our, I think, great efforts at the moment, and definitely think it's for any organization. If you are interested in how to develop a public policy, I think it's an interesting document.
The URL. What's the website?
Oh, it's a long. I can't. Well, it's not. No, it's not here. It's available on our website. It's www.oas.org/cyber. And then we have a section of documents, and then you have it there.
How about we raffle off the copies of your toolkit for those people sitting at the table?
Yeah, well, I can't do that.
Okay. So before I go on, let's know a little about you. So how many of you are here from NGOs? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you are here from government? Okay. How many of you are here from industry? Oh, we have a multi-stakeholder group going there right now. Who did I miss? Anybody here from law enforcement? Okay, great. Any elected officials of any kind? Okay. Anybody else? Did I miss anybody? Academics. Any academics? Excellent. Did I miss anybody else? All right, so you are a multi-stakeholder group in and of yourselves, right? So how many of you are involved already in some kind of cybersecurity education awareness campaign? Great, great. So some of you aren't. For those of you that are, how many of you on those campaigns partner with other people in making those campaigns happen? Okay, so let me ask you two, or there was at least two, maybe there's another one, and you might have to come up to the microphone. Tell us who your partners are. Who are your partners? Who you are and who your partners. You got to turn on the, yeah, go ahead. Let's know who you're working with.
Okay, my name is Moni Udo. I work with the Ministry of Communication in Nigeria. Our government, the immediate past administration, just signed the Cybercrime Act, and coupled with that, we have the cybersecurity policy and the cybersecurity strategy. We have several stakeholders partnering with us to create awareness on the act itself, and then to kickstart the implementation. In a few days' time, we'll be having a national workshop that we're inviting key stakeholders to, come around and look at those documents and benchmark them, against global, good practices, and see how we can improve on them, and then just generally create awareness, around cybersecurity with those key stakeholders in the legislature, the law enforcement agencies, government officials, the telecom operators, and the service providers.
That's great.
In the country.
That's great. Did you want to share?
And we're partnering with CTO.
Oh,
All right.
anybody else want to share their partners, who your partners are?
Hello, Lucas Moura from Oxford. Our partners are actually Stop Think Connect. We support this initiative, and also APWG and MOG. And also we are part at first as a sister also. So in these 4 initiatives, we raise cybersecurity awareness. And also we are developing a workshop to teach kids about cybersecurity. But it's like in the beta phase, we just make like 3 or 4 workshops, but we are developing. And the National Institute of Telecommunication asked us to apply this workshop to the whole city that they are based on. So we are in this beta phase, and soon we will apply to the whole city. It's a small city on the in the countryside of the state of Minas Gerais here in Brazil. But I think it will be fun to do this.
That sounds awesome. Anybody else want to share who you're working with in a multi-stakeholder way in education awareness? Okay. So before I go on, let me just ask, for those of you who are doing this, how many of you have an audience of the general public? Is general public part of your audience? See some people back there. How about small and medium? How about business cybersecurity? Okay. How about young people? Great. How about the education system as a whole, like just, K through college? Somebody over there. Teachers and schools? Great. So you can see that there's a lot of people that we have to reach. I'm just going to take a few minutes and talk about our approach to multi-stakeholder, how we created Stop, Think, Connect, and then I've got a lot more questions for you all too, so we're going to engage in this conversation a little bit. Let me just say, like I said, the National Cybersecurity Alliance, we are a public-private partnership. We were born to work with other people, not to do things necessarily on our own. I often say to my staff, if we're not working with other people, it ain't worth doing, because we can't do very much on our own. We can only do things in partnership because the scale here is so large. Ultimately, we have to reach everybody, and there's not one group that can do that on our own. So when I think about why we have public-private partnerships or multi-stakeholder groups in cybersecurity, I think about that first. The scale is gigantic. No one can do it on their own. We are all in this together, right? Every action that anyone takes to make their internet experience safer, actually makes everyone else who uses the internet more secure, right? Because if I'm being safer in my household and my computer doesn't get infected with a botnet, I've just protected all of you down the line. So we're really connected here, and what we do in cybersecurity is really important. No one owns this issue, right? No one owns this issue. This issue is owned by everyone. I mean, the government doesn't own this issue on their own. The government, NGOs don't own this issue on their own. Industry does not own this issue on their own. This cybersecurity infrastructure is everywhere. It's sitting everywhere. It's owned by all different kinds of people, and nobody owns it. Therefore, the owners, which are everybody, have to work together. Somebody, I think, maybe already raised a resource question. Yeah, you raised a resource question. There's not enough resources to go around on any topic, and there's certainly not on cybersecurity. If we work together and if we leverage each other's resources, as you start to hear about, like Stop, Think, Connect, and OAS and some of these other people, we can save a lot of money, and then new resources can be given back to campaigns, and we can all share them, and that's our Stop, Think, Connect model. We want to certainly reduce duplication, and the reason to collaborate on awareness and there's some other reasons to collaborate in cybersecurity as well. But there's two levels that we have to protect, right? We have to protect the whole ecosystem, right? And that's what like a lot of the technical people do when they try to, like, you know, we've already heard a mention of MOG and APWG. These are technical organizations that are solving very specific problems like spam or, you know, phishing or other kinds of efforts, to, you know, education and awareness, where we have to collaborate both at the ecosystem level, all of us who are doing it, to reach down to the very lowest levels, which is to every single user on the internet. So here's what I think are the elements of a good multi-stakeholder / public-private partnership. As many people at the table as possible, right? As many people as possible. Because if it's successful, all those people will help you deliver your campaign in the end, and that's our model in Stop, Think, Connect. All the people that we pull together, and we pulled together 25 companies, some of the biggest companies in the internet in the world, I mean Google and Facebook and Microsoft, right, all working with us. We had Symantec, we had McAfee, we had AVG, we had Trend Micro, a lot of security companies. We had banks like Bank of America. We had internet service providers like AT&T and Verizon, which are, you know, for us in America. We had a lot of big companies, and we had 7, not just 1, but 7 federal agencies: the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, our Social Security Administration, our Federal Trade Commission, just to name a few, who came to the table and agreed to come to the table with a very simple kind of notion. We just, Peter Cassidy from the APWG and myself and a couple other staff members, we just got on the phone and we started calling people and we said, hey, look, would you just come to a meeting to discuss awareness? We're not asking you to do anything big. We just want you to come to a meeting. We know you're interested in, and just talk with us. We have some ideas. We want to see if you're interested. And so we brought them together, and we said to them, over a course of a day, we said to them, we discussed, is this a big problem, awareness? Yes, it is. Do we need to have a single message that we can use? They all agreed, like, you know, I think we do. We need a single message, like, look both ways before crossing the street, right? That's safety and security. We do that. And then we said the big question, are you willing to work on it with us? And they all said yes. So we built this group, right, around a shared problem, right? We all agreed. We spent most of the time that first day talking about whether there was a problem in awareness, not what we were going to do, right? And then we set ourselves, both APWG and the NCSA, as the neutral third party, right? That we were going to facilitate this process. Yes, we had things that we wanted in this campaign and in this message, but we wanted our stakeholders to actually create it. And they did, right? They brought their self-interest to the table, and that's very, very important. Self-interest in this process must be open and on the table if you want to have a multi-stakeholder process. It's okay. And we got people to raise their hand and said, I won't use this message no matter what it is. If it's negative, it has to be positive. I won't use this message unless at the end of the day, I think the message is equal or equates to the quality of my brand, right? I have to be able to put it with my brand. It's going to have to be way up there with my brand. Then it better match my brand in some way, shape, or another. And so we had a lot of discussions about deal breakers and all these kinds of things that might happen. And then finally, just a couple of other things to think about, that the person who runs this, and this could be you all, and hopefully some of you will go back and start to run these multi-stakeholder processes, that you have to remember that this effort is not owned by you, but by the people that come together to create it, right? Everybody's equal, and this is important. So when we were doing our process, we had some very large companies who could have written a check for the whole thing, and we had some much, much smaller companies who that would have been a burden. And what we decided on the funding is the end that every single company, no matter how big or no matter how small, all put the same amount of money into the process. It was totally equal across the board, which gave everybody an equal stake and means that the message belonged to everyone equally. Nonprofits, NGOs, they didn't have to give anything. Government didn't have to give anything. We also moved ahead by consensus, and this is really important. It's not just like taking a vote, do we all agree? The people who lead these processes need to understand very deeply what the interests of the people are at the table, and need to make that process go forward knowing, I know Barbara's concerns, so when we get to the next step, I got to make sure that I'm already addressing Barbara's concerns when we get to the table the next time, right? Makes things move along. Have a path forward, like we're going to get from A to Z. On the other hand, just know that they're going to be sidetracked all the way, and just let your group sidetrack you when they want. And then get participation. Don't just run this process for them. Giving meaningful participation. When we created our Stop, Think, Connect campaign, people raised their hands at every meeting. Who wants to review the research instrument being done by the marketing firm? 3 people. Great. Who wants to work on collateral or messaging development ideas? Who wants to work on graphics? And people raised their hand, and they participated all along the way, and they did an enormous amount of the work. And two things happen. One, the work gets done, yay. Even more important, they're sticky to the process at the end of the day. It's their product. It's not my product. It's their product, right? They have to stand behind it. So I'm going to leave it there on that. And I think we'd like to go back to some, discussion with you all. So, for those, let's just talk about some of you who are, who haven't raised your hand. What is your hope to come here today and think about cybersecurity awareness, multi-stakeholder cybersecurity awareness campaigns? What is it that you're hoping to learn? And that would be great to know. Anybody want to raise their hand and talk about that? And by the way, see, those of you in the back of the room, you just come to the front and just make your comment, all right? And those at the table, just raise your hand. Right, somebody could bring a microphone to them as well. What is it that you want to know? Okay, go ahead.
My main questions and thoughts is how to reach people that you need to raise our awareness, because my company is a cybersecurity company, so usually we know about cybersecurity, but how to reach people that are doesn't have the resource to reach the cybersecurity awareness. How to do this in a multi-stakeholder initiative. I think is a challenging thing, and this is what I have in my head when I came here.
Okay. Well, I have some answers to that question, but I wonder if anybody else has an answer to the question, how to reach all the people. Who's been working in this or a similar area who might have an answer to that question? Anybody? Okay, go ahead.
Maybe I can just share some little experience in doing this. Not cybersecurity awareness, but other kinds of awareness.
Sure. We should learn from other, this is not
Yeah.
unique. We should learn from other things.
Yeah, for example, I work with the Federal Ministry of Communication, and we created like a CIO group, bringing together ICT directors from all government agencies, okay, under one umbrella. We call it Council of ICT Heads in Government. And in this forum, we come together like once in 2 months, and we share experiences from our various agencies. And we also share best practices. And like what I've learned here today, when I get back, I'm going to, at the next meeting, share it with them. They will then take the message back to their organizations and share it within their organizations. So that is applicable, in other areas. You can get local council heads or ward level heads to come together in their meetings. They have meetings. They have the association of local government chairmen. You can bring such messages to such groups, and they can take it down to their constituencies and share such messages. And like that, you can actually have, all the stakeholders get the same information that you want them to get.
That's great. You have any thoughts on that, Barbara?
I was just like, a great point that you mentioned, like how we organized the umbrella and how it was possible. We kind of created pretty much a central coordination, and then you make sure, find a way like to spread this. This is really interesting, and it's really something that we try to encourage, like bring together and then trying to find a way to spread. So, good work.
Yeah, go ahead. You have a thought?
I have a question, but
Sure.
it's a bit, it's moving the conversation to somewhere else.
The conversation is yours.
Okay, for the record, my name is Elsa Saade, and I'm from Lebanon. I work with an organization called Gulf Center for Human Rights, and I'm here because I'm an ISOC ambassador. They made us say that. I just want to ask a question, and it has to do with trust, because this issue is very, very delicate in the region where I come from. It is very hard to put one part of the multi-stakeholder group with another who's being oppressed by that part, or the other way around. You cannot make decisions with other counterparts who might take advantage of a thought you might share during a forum like this, especially in the Gulf, where the rule of law is not rule of law we all know in other parts of the world. So I'd like to know maybe some kind of best practice or advice from your point of view on a region such as mine.
Yeah, so I think, our model of rolling out the campaign speaks to this a little bit. It doesn't speak to necessarily how you get two parties who will never trust each other to work together. That's obviously a very difficult situation. But perhaps maybe there is a narrow strip of ground where something like keeping your citizens, right, safe online is in everybody's best interest. Maybe there is a shared interest in that everybody can use the internet safely. Now, maybe there isn't, and in some places there certainly isn't that shared interest, but that's one thought. But our model of dissemination, beyond this 25 or 35 people that originally created the message, is we get other groups to adopt the message, and we do that because of trust. Because we realized in the very beginning that it is a lot of energy to get people to trust somebody new. Right? So I'm the National Cybersecurity Alliance. It sounds like someone who should be trusted on this topic, but frankly, there are 345 million people in the United States. To get them to trust me first before they listen to the message isn't going to happen. But if other people, if you have your message widely disseminated by all different kinds of groups that people trust, some people trust government, so they go to government to get the message. They get the same message. They go to the Federal Trade Commission, they're going to see Stop, Think, Connect. They go to a company like RSA or, Intel Security or something like that that uses the message. They go there, they see the message. The trust is already established because the consumer is deciding, I trust the government for this message. I trust industry for this message. I trust an NGO for this message, so I go there. So you disseminate across what I call trusted networks and let people decide who they trust and receive the message from them rather than being stuck on who is the trusted messenger, right? And I think that doesn't really answer your question. In all honesty, I don't have a full answer for your question. I think that's hard, but maybe somebody else has a thought on that.
Yeah, just one thought too, focus on the issue.
Yeah.
Focus on the problem we're trying to address. And, Michael talked about some of the companies that are involved with Stop, Think, Connect in the United States. Fierce competitors in the marketplace, gunning for each other every single day, trying to win customers back and forth. Yet they put those differences aside to focus on a much larger issue, which is, the cybersecurity effort. So I think, if you can somehow get everybody to focus on the problem you're trying to address, some of the previous history of disagreements may be temporarily put aside.
Also, based on my experience in facilitating discussions in the region, we also have a trusting issue here, maybe at different levels. But what I noticed some interesting techniques, and one of them is basically what he said: focus on the problem. What is the main issue they're trying to solve? If you focus on how to do it, at the beginning discussion may be okay. Oh, we want to agree, but I say okay, but we all agree on a certain level. For instance, that we want our children to be safe online. Okay, so we have this in common. So from that broad statement, broad vision, and then we start building something. Don't start bringing your specific issues to the table, because otherwise then it gets harder. So let's start from that main issue that everyone sort of agree, and then we build from that. Other techniques that may help, and I find kind of useful when you have some sort of facilitator to the discussion, someone that is neutral. It's quite helpful because someone that can try balance the discussion and help finding this common ground, a note taker. Actually, this toolkit, we have a specific section about meeting guidelines and how to try to improve this discussion. So it doesn't really answer it, but some sort of techniques that can help improve the discussion, encourage the stakeholders to find this common ground and work together.
Yeah, we actually, when we do these processes, and we've done several of them, we actually jointly write a mission statement by consensus for everybody in the group, and we start every meeting with reading the mission statement to remind people this is what we're focused on, right? So don't go off, to the side here and there. Don't drag us, because this is what we're here to do. And I don't know if that's possible, but that's advice to everyone is to, develop that joint goal and keep it narrow. I mean, really, we started very narrow in our campaign. We started with, can we even come up with the message? And by the way, we weren't even convinced of that until like 4 meetings in that we could even do it. Like, we argued about that a lot. Like, I don't know, maybe we can, maybe we can't. Then we decided we had to do consumer research. Maybe they would tell us whether we could create a message. So you got to keep very focused. I think other thoughts or questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Just to add the fact, like, it's not going to be one round table, one meeting that's going to solve all the problems.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. So it's interesting also when you have the first meeting, like, keep taking notes of, okay, so today that was our conclusion. Oh, the second round, oh, we advanced.
And so, we have to have a way to say this is what is in it for you. At the same time, these are the challenges that you may face.
Yeah.
And these are ways you can, go around it or mitigate those threats. So it's a delicate balance when you're encouraging somebody to come online, come. And then you're saying, oh, this is also there, to harm you or to bring your business down or something. So we need to get a balance to be able to just put it across, and then they can accept it, to come online and accept the risk and the threats that they may face.
Yeah, well, you haven't, so I've always said this, that in a way, in the United States, our problem was that we started doing education awareness after everybody had already developed bad habits, right? Everybody was already online for a long time doing bad things, making mistakes, and then we tried to retrain them. That's part of our challenge. If you can get people to start with good habits, you are actually ahead of the game. Let me just say, very much, because getting people to change things that they've already decided to do on their own without any help is really a problem. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's something that we always say to our member states that are still, well, dealing with this problem that not so many people are online. They want to encourage to be online, but then they have the safe issue. Say, well, don't see it as a challenge, but actually as an opportunity to make sure that, we're going to be online and safe at the same time. But something else about your question, I think, okay, you want to encourage them to be online and you're concerned because, but be careful because there's all those cyber risks. But you have to think as a normal business. If you want to open a business, you still have some risks. Everything has a risk. So why cybersecurity has to be like this? So if you have to open a business, well, you have to, insurance, or you have to do this. So as any other step, you have to consider the risk too and protect yourself. So try to deal with based on other experience that people are used to, and say, well, as any other business, there's just problems, but that's what you should do. It's something. Try to think not as something that's so far and so complex, because there are real examples that it's just the same.
Other thoughts, questions? Yeah.
I think we, as an initiative to raise the cybersecurity awareness, we need to learn or have a best practice about how to open doors, to open doors in spaces that you want to reach as a target. If I want to raise cybersecurity in schools, for example, I need to open doors in schools because due to the trust issue. And I think this is and we as I am a technician, so I'm not a public relation person, so it's kind of difficult to break this first barrier that you have, that is to open door and, hey, I want to help, I want to introduce, I want to share what I know, and I think this is a great difficulty that we have when we are dealing with cybersecurity, when raising cybersecurity awareness.
Yeah. So that is a difficult part of the process, and that's part of developing the multi-stakeholder process, is sitting down with people and finding out like where the shared interest is, right? Where is the interest where does our interest cross over? And I think schools, always a target, and in the United States, it's very hard to reach schools because our school system is incredibly decentralized right down to the local level where local school districts decide what gets taught. And so, you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of school districts. So it's finding leadership in those verticals and sitting down and talking with them and seeing and showing them, by the way, how you can help them, because you already have a lot of answers that they don't, right? And sometimes people, especially in cybersecurity, especially in early stages, don't address it because they feel like they're not an expert, right? It's pretty hard for a teacher to talk about something that they don't feel they know, right? Because I'm supposed to be the teacher, I'm supposed to have the answer to the question, right? So helping them, in the United States, we see things now like, in-service, trainings on security and online safety and those kinds of things for teachers. But those take long periods of time. But that's why getting them to this table early in the discussion is really, really important. And then finding someone who will get their attention. So if you don't know them, find someone who knows them, who gets them to talk to you about it. It's not easy. I mean, this is not, having a multi-stakeholder approach, you know, it's a great solution, but it takes a lot of work on the front end to get people to the table. It can be hard to get people to the table. Sometimes you have to kind of cajole, come to the table. You just come. That's what we did, though. We said to people, come to one meeting. That's all I'm asking you, to come to one meeting. Just come to a meeting. I'm not asking you to sign up for the rest of your life. I'm just asking you to come to a meeting to see if there's any shared interest. If there is, great. If there's not, go home. And no one's ever gone home, by the way. But that's what we talk to people about. We just have a few minutes left. So I don't know if there's any other thoughts. We haven't heard from a lot of, what? Okay, great.
Thank you. I think cybersecurity is a big issue as far as our internet is concerned.
Can you talk into the microphone a little bit more? Thanks.
Oh, yeah. As far as the internet is concerned, we have bad guys and good guys on the net, who we have to live, unfortunately, with them there. So the only thing which should happen is for us to fight. And how do we fight this crime or the cyber issues? I think the best way is collaboration among the good guys on the net, then awareness, so that at least those bad guys can be aware that they are good guys and they are doing something bad. In addition to this, I know it's quite difficult, but we should expose them. The way we expose them, I think that could be technical, so that there is no safe place for the bad guys on the net. Thank you.
That's a pretty good place to, to call the end. I think you're absolutely right. First of all, you're all the good guys, right? I'm assuming everybody's a good guy. Don't raise your hand if you're not a good guy, but I'm assuming you're all the good guys. But you're right. I mean, it's how we band together, right? That's part of the multi-stakeholder process. Leads to kind of resistance, right? Because we're creating the resistance, whether it's technically, through technology, through standards, whether it's through education awareness and making, every internet user better defended against the risks that are out there, or their devices better defended against the, the risks to their devices. This is all, building that resistance is really one of the major, elements of cybersecurity, and then resilience, right? Coming back if something bad does happen. So resistance and resilience are really often the two ways we talk about cybersecurity. But I would also say that cybersecurity, for me, and this is one of the messages that we have that's slightly different than others, is about enabling people to do more. If you know how to be safe and secure online, if you know how to keep your devices secure, you can actually do more online. And security enables you. It doesn't prevent you from doing things. I think that's really important. I will leave it there for me. I don't know, Barbara, if you want to add anything. We've only got a minute left or here, so. But.
Well, agreed that we have to change a little bit this idea of cybersecurity as something that's not bad. It's, on the other hand, is actually quite positive. We're trying to protect ourselves. And another device, when you're trying to promote cybersecurity, address it as a positive thing, like you're asking about the business. Don't start a campaign like, oh, cyber criminals can get you, but write a message in a positive way. That is a good way of starting. So thank you all.
I think we're actually right on time. So I just want to thank you all for coming. I'm willing to stick around and answer some other questions if people didn't, if we didn't get them fully answered. But we really appreciate you coming late in the day, late in the week. And that's it. Thank you so much.